Our next speaker was an organizer for the trip to the Women's March in Washington last year. That's where I first met her. And she participated in the National March and is a leader in the Rhode Island Women's March South County Huddle. Please welcome Deb Cota.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and thank you. I was told to yell, but I guess that doesn't work. My name is Deb Cota, and I've been an activist for various causes since I was a teenager in the 1960s. Originally fighting for the fledgling Clean Air Act, so what Shauna just said resonates with me. I represent the South County Huddle, based in South Kingstown and Narragansett, one of the thousands of women's huddles across the United States and the world, created after last year's march, when we looked around and said, okay, what's next? And as women have throughout history, we rolled up our sleeves and went to work on issues of social justice. We protested, rallied, sent postcards, letters, and emails, and called our elected representatives to ensure that our voices were being heard, and we still do. I'm here today to talk about voting issues as well as state legislation introduced for the 2018 session regarding voter rights and terms in office. To vote in Rhode Island, you must register, obtain a valid voter ID, unfortunately, know where to vote, and know the primary and midterm election dates, and one of those has changed, so I'll be talking about that in a minute. So, raise your hand or your signs if you are registered to vote. Yeah, that's great. Then you know the right to vote is the most precious right we have in a democracy. And yet many Americans do not exercise that right, especially in a midterm election. According to the U.S. Census Bureau for 2014, during that midterm election, slightly fewer than 60% of Americans eligible to register actually did. So roughly 40 out of 100 eligible voters could not vote because they were not registered. Then of the 60% who were registered, only 38% voted. Translation, 23 of every 100 eligible voters actually voted. Less than a quarter of eligible voters elected the House of Representatives and our own state senators and representatives in 2014. Because RI numbers closely mirror the national statistics. And as some of you know, some of those elections were pretty darn close. Not necessarily to our liking. So we've got to do better, and it starts with registering to vote if you truly want to make an impact. Registering to vote is easy. You can register to vote online at sos.ri.gov, or in person at the Rhode Island Secretary of State's office, or at any office of the Rhode Island Department of Motor Vehicles. But registering to vote or obtaining an ID is not so easy if you have no access to the internet or you have no ride. We can help. Today we have one-stop shopping thanks to the support from the Office of the Secretary of State's representatives, including Ellis Consuegra and her colleagues. Visit them to register. They're right straight ahead of me down the brick path. They can provide you with other information about voting, and if you prefer, you can take the form home, complete it, and bring it to your local board of canvassers, and they have those at their table as well. Other colleagues and friends are at tables here to help you. There they are, right down there in the center. Visit them to help yourself or to provide a loved one, a neighbor, anyone you know who needs help to get through this process. We even have a table where you can sign up to take people to the polls, or sign up if you need transportation to the polls during the primary and midterm election. Check it out. As far as voter ID is concerned, does everybody have a voter ID? Does everybody know what a voter ID is? In Rhode Island, it's easy to get one. If you have a driver's license or a passport or a few other things, then you have an ID. If you don't, you can get a free one from the Secretary of State's office, and the folks down there can help you figure that out. You should know that groups can actually sponsor voter registration and ID programs around the state, and if you talk to the folks at the table, they'll help you with that. Finally, if you already are registered to vote with a valid ID, the only thing left for you to do in 2018 is vote. But if you want to help somebody else, we have a sign-up table for that. Two resolutions I want to mention in the State House this year. One is House Joint Resolution 7034. midterm for state representatives and senators from an unlimited 2-year terms to 3 4-year terms, an interesting idea, and House Joint Resolution 7064, which authorizes in-person early voting in time for the 2018 midterm elections. Currently, Rhode Island voters can only vote on election day or by absentee ballot. So check those resolutions out. You can find them at legiscan.com/RI. Also, I'd like to ask you to consider running for office, because we need people like us making decisions. So that's really important, and you can find information there at the Secretary of State's website. Finally, the midterm primary election will be held on Wednesday, September 12th. That's a Wednesday, not a Tuesday, because it conflicts with the holiday. So please remember that. The date of the midterm election is November 6, 2018, and I hope every single one of you eligible to vote can be there. So let us rise up and persist. Let us ensure that everyone who is eligible to vote finds a way to the polls on November 6, 2018. Thank you.